waiting to feel the rush of memory, but it didn't come. I didn't say anything to Laurel. I just stared at those pages for a while, then closed the journal and put it back. Something didn't add up. Not the stories she'd told others, not the praise she'd handed me that I never earned, and not the version of the past she was slowly, subtly rewriting right under my roof. I didn't know it yet, but letting her move in wasn't the generous act I thought it was. It was the start of something I should have seen coming a long time ago. A few weeks after Laurel moved in, she offered to cover half the rent. I didn't expect it, but she sent over her share for the first 2 months without me needing to remind her. She even made a joke about being a responsible roommate now. I didn't push for anything more than that. She set up a little workspace in the corner of her room, using the desk I found for her, and started telling people she was job hunting full-time. But most mornings, I'd leave for my shift and she'd still be asleep. I'd come back on my lunch break and see the TV on with Netflix running, usually something with subtitles, volume low, lights off. Her laptop would be closed, job boards untouched. I took over most of the cooking without even realizing it. She'd offer to help now and then, but only when I was already halfway through. If I left dishes in the sink, she'd walk past them. I vacuumed the common areas, took out the trash, and restocked everything from toilet paper to dish soap. She'd say she was just too overwhelmed to deal with chores and needed a little reset. Then one day, our aunt called. She wanted to thank me for everything I did to help Laurel get through school. I was confused, and she said Laurel told her I'd co-signed her student loans. I hadn't. I never even knew she had loans. I didn't even know where she went to undergrad until years later. When I brought it up, Laurel shrugged and said it was just easier to explain things that way. She said people didn't need every detail of her FAFSA story. She made it sound harmless, but it didn't sit right. After that, I started paying attention. I started connecting dots. She had told her old roommate that I once sent her $500 when she got laid off in grad school. She told a coworker that I used to send her grocery gift cards every month. One of her friends even posted a comment under an old photo of us, the best sister ever, always had Laurel's back. I'd never done any of those things. She'd been building this image for years. In her world, I was the hero of her origin story. I just didn't recognize any of it. A few days later, my landlord came by for a routine maintenance check. As we stood near the front door, he mentioned how impressed he was with how Laurel's taken over handling the rent while you were struggling. I asked what he meant, and he said she told him she took over payments while I was getting back on my feet. I told him the rent was auto-paid from my account every month. Always had been. He looked genuinely surprised. That night, I sat in my room, just thinking. Laurel wasn't just staying here to get back on her feet. She was using me to reinforce a story she'd been telling for years. One that made her look generous, loyal, selfless, and I was just a prop in it. I didn't say anything to her directly. I started keeping the door between us just a little more closed. Then one night, she was on the phone with someone on speaker. I wasn't eavesdropping on purpose. It was just loud enough to hear from the kitchen. She told whoever it was, I had to help my sister so much after Mom's stroke. She would have drowned without me. I stopped in place. When Mom had the stroke, I moved back home within days. I took over driving her to appointments, helping with bills, sitting with her when she couldn't get out of bed. Laurel came back twice. Once for a weekend, once for a holiday. That was it. And yet, somehow, in her version, she had saved me. The next morning, I left a list on the fridge, basic job listings I found online. Retail, warehouse, receptionist work, even a short-term nanny gig. She glanced at it, made a face, and said she wasn't going backwards. I asked if she'd thought about any part-time gigs, anything to help out with groceries or utilities. She smiled, stretched, and said she'd earned this break. That's when it clicked. Laurel wasn't recovering from anything. She wasn't picking up the pieces. She was comfortable. She had warmth, food, Wi-Fi, and zero urgency. I started locking up anything personal, documents, mail, even the good towels. I didn't trust what version of me she was giving to people anymore. She didn't seem to notice.